We kick off this episode, before we jump into our introduction, to remember a member of the Canucks social media sphere, what we would call the Smilosphere, and that is Coop, or as he's known to friends and family, Ian Cooper. A few years back, we learned that Ian was diagnosed with cancer, and he approached it the same way he approached social media, direct, head-on, and for quite some time put up a brave fight. Unfortunately, I woke up this weekend to learn that fight is over. He passed away on Friday, and I wanted to use this as an opportunity for us to think of him, his families, and friends, and really take a moment of silence before we jump in this episode.
When the Canucks miss the playoffs again.
When Jim Benning trades away all our picks.
When Goldolden is scratched for the third game in a row. C4 is there. With Sedin-like vision, Horvat's work ethic, and Petey's electric personality. Here comes the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast with Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Powered by Overtime Media.
Welcome to another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. I am Chris at Lightforce, joined in studio by Matt Lee at MattLee_61 and Anna Forsyth at aforsyth03. As we let off the top of this episode, this will be somewhat of a somber one. For those who are on Twitter, you know of Coop. That's the easiest way to say it. You know of Coop. If you don't know of Coop, you have not been in Canucks social media. You have not been on Twitter. In fact, I'd argue that you weren't on Twitter in Canada because, unfortunately, we lost Coop this weekend. He passed away on Friday, having battled cancer, a diagnosis that 3 years ago that he received was only to give him months, and he fought hard. And I would be lying if I said it didn't move me based on all the health issues I had last year. But we wanted to pay that respect to him. He is one that, would speak to you as straight as the next person. But he was a good guy. He loved his family and his kids. I mean, he and I used to talk about video games because, there were things that his kids were into that he didn't quite understand, yet I could almost carry on a conversation with him about. I think that kind of, not to say just drove him nuts, it wasn't the world that he was interested in, but he was interested in his kids, which was why he knew about it. And I would hate to suggest otherwise. But Anna, you had an opportunity to talk with him over the years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of that community and just such a key part of it, I think. Part of what made Canucks Twitter so fun. There's a lot of negativity or bad interactions you could have on social media, but Coop was never one of them. He would be the most sarcastic, wind-up merchant of a guy, but it all came from a place of fun, it came from a place of knowledge, and it was definitely always said with love. He would never be mean-spirited about anyone, and I'm sure he offended a few people over the years, but that's people who didn't get Coop, because Coop was just the most fun guy to interact with, and I think most of our interactions were pretty much a good back and forth, biting back at each other all the time, and then whenever he would talk about more personal things, they would get a little bit more sentimental, and I would always be one to encourage him whenever he went through his treatments and stuff, and he put on a brave face a lot of the time, but he really went through the ringer with it, and kind of faced it with a lot of bravery.
I mean, I know for myself, you guys mentioned, Coop and I, we had always butted heads every now and then on Twitter about, the state of the Canucks, even just things in general life. I remember putting out one meaningless tweet about how if you sit in the middle seat on a plane between two others, do you get to put your hands on both armrests? And I remember Coop, true to his sarcastic self, had sort of said, like, don't be a jerk, just share both armrests with the people. And
I would agree with that.
And like, that was classic Coop in some ways. Like, he was very to the point, as you guys have sort of alluded to. But at the end of the day, like, he was a Canucks fan, a West Coast fan through and through. Like, he wanted the Vancouver Canucks to succeed. He wanted the Vancouver Whitecaps to succeed, the BC Lions. Like, he was such a true West Coast sports fan. And I think we were all united on that front. Like, he just wanted to see the Canucks succeed. Whether you agreed with him or not, a completely different story, of course. But, like, I think he was just an honest person. And I think in some ways embodied about what a lot of us sort of feel as West Coast sports fans. So I think that's what I'm going to miss the most, is that honesty, as sort of to a fault as it could be sometimes. But like you said, Chris, I think just an honest and good person right down to the core.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt, you and I were talking before we hit the record button. Last year I went through some health challenges. I've never really gotten into how serious they were at the time. But I remember I shared a picture of my feet in a hospital bed. It was sort of the first sort of public disclosure that I was in the hospital. It was a few days after I had been admitted. And I don't know if Coop had me on like notification like the moment I tweeted, or because a DM arrived within seconds and it was like, hey, what can I do? Like, it wasn't like, how are you? It was like, what can I do? You're in a hospital. And I've heard others refer to the fact that he would be the first person that would reach out and, honest to goodness, you know, be concerned for you. He didn't know me outside of this guy named Lightforce on Twitter. Corey Hergunt has shared how, you know, he and Coop used to have conversations. I think Steve Ewan had similar conversations. And Coop was the type of guy who wanted to be there for you in your time of need, whether he knew you or not, because he was just that good of a person. And it meant a lot to me. I remember I told my wife about it. I'm like, you know, this guy doesn't know me. And I got well wishes from lots of people, and I don't want to discount that. But it means maybe that just that little bit more, that really if the roles were reversed, I'm not suggesting that I wouldn't care for someone, but I don't know if I would reach out right away like that. Like he did. He was direct. And I think all of us could take a few of the lessons of life from Coop and probably be a lot better for it. You know, whether it be, you know, being direct in our conversations, and nothing he ever said came with malice. It may have been interpreted as such. I was telling Matt, there was I think you and he were talking, Anna, about C4, and I sort of interjected, like, what are you talking about? This is like a podcast that's been around for 5 years. And he straight up said, never heard of it, doesn't mean anything or whatever. And I took that personally.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't intend for it to be personal, but I did. And you refer to the wind-up merchant. He wound me up a few times, but then when I think back, he wasn't trying to. I was the one who read all the extra meaning.
And he actually, you know, DM'd me straight after saying, you know, I hope Chris isn't too upset, you know, this wasn't meant as an attack, definitely meant as a, you know, joking aside in the way that Coop does. Yeah,
and the last conversation I had with Coop, I had actually on Twitter, I had commented, like, what's the appropriate way to deal with unprompted email, like cold calls in the office. And Coop said, is it like, we were having to start a conversation, and then he ended up by saying, is it really wrong? And I'm like, or is there a wrong way? And I'm like, which leads us back full circle to my original question, is there a better way? Mm-hmm. He liked that tweet. That was the last time I spoke to him. Anyhow.
As tough as it is to, this is a tough episode, a very somber episode, of course. We will talk about the Vancouver Canucks, as we do on every episode. And in the spirit of to sort of honor Coop's memory, if you will, the show does go on, and I think Coop would want the show to go on, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Chris, it's been a week for the Vancouver Canucks. It's been 2 since we've sort of been here as a group. Of course, last week being Remembrance Day. Basically, the Vancouver Canucks, their start in November has not been great. Mixed bag, if you will. Any thoughts on what we've seen as a whole, really, throughout the month of November after that scorching October start?
The easiest way to look at it, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about this being a team that was a Stanley Cup favorite, and they rolled into November, and not to suggest that the wheels have fallen off the bandwagon, but maybe a bolt or two might have sprung off. And that might be appropriate because we've seen the Vancouver Canucks get smacked around a little bit by the injury bug.
Yeah, but isn't that always the way? It comes around this time most years, and it usually comes to players like Chris Tanev.
Who, by the way, I'm surprised he played after he took that block shot
Are you, though?
from Patrick
Because
Laine.
it's Chris Tanev. The man doesn't know pain.
That shot looked like it stung something awful.
No kidding.
I was like, well, that's it. We'll
Well-
see Chris Tanev in a month.
Well, that's the thing. We'll talk more about this, but when that happens, you're like, welp, right? Like,
Yep.
Like, and I
You've just been waiting for it, right?
And it's. I don't wish him like he is. I mean, hell, I used to go streaking every time he scored a goal, right? Like, I like Chris Tanev.
Funny,
like
I haven't seen these photos.
No one has.
Thank God.
But, I mean, we're not trying to take a shot at Chris Tanev when we honestly say he's, a little bit rough around the edges.
Well, let's put it this way: like the dude
health-wise.
doesn't necessarily go out of his way to not block shots.
Oh no, he's
Yeah.
with any part of his body.
What's the opposite of being wrapped up in cotton wool? Because that's the way Chris Tanev plays.
He's the Rodney What is it? Who's the motorcycle? the guy?
Evil Knievel?
Thank you,
It's not Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Danger. He doesn't get respect, is what I was gonna say with that.
So the best way they've wrapped Chris Tanev up in sandpaper to hold him together. Like he plays he's playing the game in that sort of abrasive blue collar style. But if you've ever used sandpaper to try to hold something together, it doesn't last very long.
Yeah. That said, let's flash forward to maybe the last game that we saw the Vancouver Canucks play in. Wasn't the Saturday night game against the Colorado Avalanche another exciting game, Chris? Did you like it?
So
Just to sort of interject, like every time I watch the
know.
Canucks make a wild comeback, even though they lost in overtime, I'm like, man, I hope Chris is watching this one. This is a guy who's like, to hell with defensive hockey. Let's just play balls out hockey.
So I see. This is the thing. In a game like that, I would be wrong to say I didn't enjoy the comeback. I do wish that it wasn't always the comeback. Like I don't mind like the, as you called it, balls out hockey where it's end to end, and we got the last game was like 7-6 or whatever, or 8-6. I can't remember what the final was between Colorado and Vancouver.
Oh, yeah. That was a 7-6 game.
Yeah, like, where it's all sorts of crazy. This one, I was a little more concerned as to what we were seeing. Overtime. I don't know what's happened to the Canucks in overtime.
Yeah. I know people enjoy overtime for the fact that it's more innovative. Like, you have to be more innovative. And
Innovative.
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 As we would say innovative, yeah.
Innovative.
Oh, God.
How do
but
you say
it's
aluminum?
aluminium.
Oh, my God. Anyway, let's move on.
But yeah, it's more attacking hockey, right? But then we've been on the receiving end of that.
Well, so we have, but at the start of the season, the Vancouver Canucks, and even the end of last year, they could carry their own with that offensive style. But now it's as if, like, I am maybe, defense second. In overtime, it's like defense doesn't even hit the ice.
Yeah.
And even when they're not necessarily going out of their way, they find a way to somehow give, like, the worst opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it's McKinnon. You don't give him a run on goal like that. That was just stupidity. But I do think, while it's a very odd style of hockey to play, and you have to find a balance, and it's going to be on the more high-risk side. I'm not saying the way they played overtime was the right way to play, not at all. But I just think it is going to be a high-risk.
High risk, high reward. Like, and if this is
That
how
is
if
how
the
you
Canucks,
play.
if this is the way the Canucks are going to lose games, it would be hard for me to say that I would be disappointed. Like, if they're going to lose, like a loss is going to be a loss. At least they're making it, one, entertaining, and two, getting a point.
I just love the comebacks, and it was made so much more sweeter when it was like Pettersson, Hughes, and Quinn and Besser that were teaming up for that tying goal. Like, it was the future on display, Chris. And I just enjoyed that. I got amped up. I even screamed at the TV when they scored that tying goal.
That Besser goal. But you you bring that point up. Like, you were watching the game. Did you not feel, the Canucks are going to tie this one up? Like, this is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It felt inevitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the Canucks were pressing a little bit, especially towards the end. They had the extra attacker out. We could talk about the Matt Calvert injury, which led to the goal and all that. Like, that, it did feel like the Canucks were pressing really hard and they were going to tie the game. That said, I did not expect that they were going to lose the game like 30 seconds in. Like, Nathan MacKinnon scores. I'm like, what just happened? You might want to cover that guy. I think Nathan MacKinnon might be good at the game of hockey.
So, before we decompress that, you brought up Calvert.
Okay.
So, I think, I'll just go on a limb here. All three of us would say the play should have probably been blown dead.
It should have, but we've seen with the Canucks, I think this season, where a play like that happened and it was also not blown dead.
Right, and I like the way the way the rules are, the play isn't blown dead, but like I'll use the soccer reference.
Yeah.
Right, a referee on the pitch has the opportunity to kill play if they feel a player's seriously injured. Now it's a different style of game. Like, I'm not going to whistle the play dead because there's a player on a breakaway, but if as soon as that ball was kicked the opposite direction, the whistle comes out. Like as soon as the play goes to a corner, the whistle comes out.
Yeah, I would say that one of the highest duties that the officials have is to protect the players that are on the ice. And that player was in, I would say, as far as, like, on ice incidents happen, like, high danger. Yeah. And he was in the middle of the play.
Well,
like, I, as a fan, am glad that we scored that goal. But I shouldn't be, like, in any part making the decisions about...
No. Like, that's...
So it should be about protecting the player, and I would say that the player was not protected.
I bet you that the league maybe revisits this in GM conversations. Whether or not it actually changes, I don't know. And if it had gone the other way, like, let's be real, we're Canucks fans. We've been, BS. That shouldn't have happened. And then we've seen situations, as you said, Matt, where the call hasn't gone our way. Either was whistled or it wasn't. And there is no win here. But after I have calmed down, a player was hurt. Like, he took a puck to the head.
Yeah, and I think head injuries, right? We've talked a lot about the league's kind of reputation in terms of head injuries, and I would say they've fallen down again here because head injuries should be different. I think you can't cover this with a rule. It should be at the discretion of the official, and fans might be peeved at it, but the player's protected.
Well, let's say he takes that puck off the leg, right, straight off the shin.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be having this conversation.
No, we would not be. And I'd be fine with that. That's why I think that the rules don't necessarily need to cover this. It should be the officials making
right.
Can we just say that, like, if
be...
it's a clear head injury, that's an automatic stop?
Yeah.
Right.
I think so
that's
too.
all that needs to be said,
and,
I think.
like, we've been talking, like, player safety has been a theme for the last few years now in the NHL, and I think that's something that you mentioned, Chris, will get revisited at some point at the next GM meetings. I think it was pretty clear that what Calvert had was a head injury in this case, and so therefore play should have been stopped, but unfortunately the rule is that, unless the team gets possession of the puck, you can't stop the puck.
Yeah,
or you can't stop play.
Yeah.
Getting to the actual hockey talk, Adam Gaudette scores 2 goals against the Colorado Avalanche.
So, you think he gets much more ice time in OT that goes a little bit longer? Like,
Possibly.
See, this thing is,
honestly, I don't know who's in the rotation, so to speak, during overtime.
So
there are some players that get run in overtime, and there are some that don't.
So, well, up front, you got Besser, Petey, Horvat.
Pearson.
See, that Pearson doesn't seem obvious to me, but he would.
He has played quite a few OT.
If Sutter was healthy, Sutter would get out there. I think. See, the challenge I have here is I'm going through, like, sort of. We already know the automatic there at least was one space, so to speak, because they're not going to necessarily run 3 lines on OT, or if you do, it's not going to be all that much. I actually wonder if Adam Gaudette would get on the ice. Like, it seems to me that even though he is playing. Like, you brought it up in Gate 16, Matt, or maybe it might have been in Game Chat. There's no way Adam Gaudette gets sent down to Utica at this point.
That was going to be my next question. There's no, like, Gaudette has, there was the window of opportunity. Adam Gaudette, over the last week or so, I mean, he's got, I think, 8 points in 11 games this season. He has taken that window of opportunity and taken a sledgehammer to it. Like, it is full-blown. He's like, he is in the door. He's not moving anywhere. He's, sat in Louis Ericsson's spot on the couch, and he's like, nope, this is my spot now. You're going to have to find somewhere else, Chief. I just don't think there's any logical reason where, when the Canucks are in the midst of a playoff hunt, if you will, that they can afford to send who is clearly the better player in Adam Gaudette down to Utica, even though he is the easiest to send down.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, but then we didn't think we'd be having this conversation when he did get sent down. So, although I do think he has made an impression, I don't think Travis necessarily considers him like the core of this team. But I don't see how you can justify sending him down now.
So here's the thing. We got Antoine Roussel practicing now with contact, so he's not that far away. Jay Beagle is expected to play tonight in Dallas, if you will. This for those listening on a Tuesday. Brandon Sutter is, according to Travis Green, going to at least practice at some point during this road trip. I don't know how Adam Gaudette finds his way around this. There are just too many spots. Like, if it was just one guy that we could talk about that was an easy, like, wave, peace be with you, in the words of Chris, this would be an easy conversation. But there are quite a few guys that are probably not that far away from returning to this lineup. I don't know how we solve this problem. Chris?
Like, I don't know why you'd look at me to solve this problem. Like,
you're the cap guy. Make it work.
Well,
crunch the numbers.
There is no way to make it work. There are, unless they magically IR a bunch of players. Like, it's a good problem to have, but it is a problem they need to solve. I would presume this is the end of Louis Eriksson on the Vancouver Canucks. Like, that has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, this forces their hand, right?
Right, and that's still not enough. Like, that came up today in Gate 16, like Berchi. So just because he can get sent back down real quick.
For December
1st, I think it was.
First.
Yeah. Like, so I mean, whether or not he actually has been playing well.
Yeah.
But I think that's another body that's being sent down. Like, it's now a numbers game that's
right.
playing against.
But
him.
then it's just, if you're Sven Bech in that situation, and you're just seeing as, they're solving a problem, but
that sucks.
But he's an NHL player who's been treated like an AHL player.
So then, let's say this is the other problem: is the Canucks have absolutely no ability to start trading and even breaking even, because other teams are going to look at the situation and say, we're going to take him to the cleaners. So if Sven Berchi gets you something in return, and he, by not having him on the roster, helps you get a Beagle, a Roussel, a Sutter into the lineup, do you make that deal?
Sucks.
No, it does, right? But like, I look at Travis Green and I see him as wanting a Beagle, a Roussel, and a Sutter in the lineup over a Berchi. So,
can I quickly add? I just looked up Louis Eriksson's stats for the season. He has played 11 games this year. And in those 11 games, Louis Eriksson, 0 points, 9 shots on goal.
Yeah, but does it show the little things? Because I bet you no one leads little things in 60 like he does.
He started the year with 13 minutes of ice time. He got 6 minutes and 47 seconds against the Avalanche on Saturday.
I mentioned this on Twitter today, but he is like the patron saint of what I would call the TFC Cup.
Like,
the thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for coming. Okay.
Chris, did you ever watch The Office, the US version?
Bits and pieces, never full on.
If Louis Eriksson was a character on The Office, he would be Creed Bratton.
I don't know what that means.
What does he do around here?
Who is this character?
Never. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't make
The Office characters, or The Office listeners and watchers in here would
He's meant to be the same as what's he called? The guy in the British Office.
That
I don't know.
either.
I didn't watch that either.
Okay, I think I know who you mean.
We're not British.
Do you have any-
Keith from The Office.
Are there-
Yeah.
are
Would you say that Keith was innovative?
No.
Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. I getting back to the core of the discussion here. Adam Gaudette is so clearly much more advanced at this stage than we expected him to be, and it is so hard for me to like. Let's be honest too. Gaudette's energy, like when he scores goals and celebrates goals, it is infectious, is it not?
Oh yeah, and it's
Like
fun
when
to watch.
he gets the fist pumping and when they're scoring goals, like that energy trickles down onto the rest of the team, and it's a lot more than what we can say for about 4 or 5 of the other guys who are on this team.
Yeah, and he's kind of that young guy that's just having so much fun playing hockey, and contrast that with Louis Eriksson, who is barely turns up for work.
Chris, before we get to a break, how about you talk to us about Vivid Seats?
Yeah, I've been sitting here waiting to talk about Vivid Seats. You've probably heard us talk about, Vivid Seats in previous episodes, and this is no different. But one of the things that you might not realize is that by using Vivid Seats to pick up tickets to the next Canucks game, we can actually save you a few bucks. Now, let's say, and I'm going to hypothetically throw it out here, you want to go and watch the Vancouver Canucks take on the Toronto Maple Leafs early in December. It's going to be a hot ticket. It's also a 7 o'clock start, which means you could probably get there without having to skip work early, which is a rarity when Toronto comes to town. The problem, though, all those Maple Leaf fans, they think that this is their year to win the Cup, even though it's obviously not, and it could cost Babcock his job. They're going to buy those tickets up and paint the lower bowl and upper bowl a sea of white Leafs jerseys. It's ugly. So we want you as Canucks fans to get in there first. So what do you need to do? Well, first and foremost, you head off to Vivid Seats. And to do that, you can either go to their website or, better yet, go to the App Store, Google Play, and download the Vivid Seats app. And not only when you get the app and you buy tickets, you're enrolled in a rewards program. So you're actually going to score some extra points down the road. Now, each purchase is backed 100% by a buyer guarantee. And that, again, could be the Vancouver Canucks or concerts or really any type of show or more, but it has it all. Now, here's the offer. This is where we can save you a few bucks. When it comes time to buy, new users need to enter the promo code OVERTIME. That's OVERTIME at checkout to receive a discount of up to $100. That's right. Use the code OVERTIME to save yourself up to $100 when it comes time to buy the tickets.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
Yeah, that drop's going to have to
I
change.
gotta update that. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot that was in there.
We'll talk more about that a little bit later if you didn't catch it. Yeah. Anyhow.
Suddenly it makes more sense when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chris, the Canucks are heading out on a road trip. So before they can, you can get your $100 off on the Vivid Seats app. This is the longest road trip of the season for the Vancouver Canucks. And you guys, it is a real toughie.
What are you talking about?
They got Dallas tonight. Dallas, who I think has won something like 11 of their last 13 or something like that.
Yeah, including
one over the Vancouver Canucks.
Winnable.
They got the Nashville Predators, who
Easy.
are at the top of the
Swept
Central.
aside last
winnable.
week.
Washington Capitals, who look like they're on a mission these days.
Winnable.
A couple games in Pennsylvania with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and then they come back to Canada and take on the Edmonton Oilers, who are led by Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and nobody else.
Well,
Who are those people? I don't even.
But you left out the fact that they do a home and home. Like they're in Edmonton on Saturday night for Hockey Night in Canada, and then they fly home for Sunday.
The next night versus Edmonton.
Which that's the type of weekend that I look forward to. Like those home and homes
The
against.
back-to-backs.
Yeah,
right,
especially against
Calgary,
Edmonton.
right?
Yeah. They're fun.
But Anna, I mean, acknowledging that this is a very difficult stretch of games that they've got coming up, and I think for a lot of people, really looking at this as that litmus test, if you will, to see if the Canucks are more legit than not.
Yeah. And I think it will be a big test, especially now we've come down to the crunch with injuries. We have maybe some people coming back into the lineup. We'll see how they fit in. And yeah, I think it'll be a real test because I don't think that they've been swept aside in many games. November has not been fun, but it's almost more frustrating because they've been good in a lot of the losses.
So, you look at it's been back and forth. And, I was actually talking to my barber about the Canucks this week.
Sorry.
Great haircut, by the way.
You have a barber?
I have a barber.
For which purpose? What's the deal?
It's not for his head.
Oh, God.
This podcast just took a wild turn.
Uh-huh.
So anyhow, because he actually listens to C4, so thank you.
Shout out.
Yeah, thank you, Petros. He and I were chatting, and he was sort of asking how the Canucks are, and it's difficult because they're a hard to read team this month. Like in October, they were overachieving. I think anyone who were to tell you otherwise is either looking through either green or blue lensed glasses.
In September, they were doing what I expected as well.
Right. It's
preseason hockey.
But November has been frustrating because they're nice. Like, wow, okay, this is the team I remember, and then subsequently the next night, what the hell happened there? And it's like Jekyll and Hyde, game in, game out.
Yeah. I was at both the games during the week, and it was almost like seeing the same team with different results. The game against Nashville was frustrating because I don't think Nashville were playing well at all. They looked very tired, and it seemed like Canucks kept letting them back into the game. Took them a while to close it down. And then against Dallas, we seemed on top of them for a long stretch, and then
we weren't.
And then we weren't. So, yeah, it has been more frustrating because, I feel like we're underachieving for the team we are, but we have to find that middle.
So you say they're underachieving.
In the same way that they were overachieving in October. I completely agree with you on that.
Oh, okay. You mean for November?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I thought you were like as a whole, this is an underachieving team. Yeah. Okay.
And
that's a balanced.
This is where we maybe find our middle, and
yeah,
that's where we see. Okay, this is who the team are.
So this road trip, as you sort of led off, Matt, what would we look at this road trip as? Road trip?
Oh, it is a road trip, my friend.
A road trip. What would we see this as being successful? Coming home 500?
Even then, I would kind of take that and run with it, to be honest.
Right, like if they can make it home with a few wins.
So they got 6 games on this road trip.
So what's acceptable?
If they win 4, I'm ecstatic, like through the moon.
Okay.
3, I think, is about the expectation if you're thinking this is a playoff team. Anything less than that is probably more of a disappointment.
Yeah, because I think part of the problem is we're in a weak division, but once you get to the playoffs, you got to play everybody.
No, agreed. So Nexus in patron chat because he can listen live.
We can't play the Kings in the playoffs?
In every round?
I'll take 7 games of that.
Times 4.
Team like that.
So Nexus suggesting 4-2, like 4 wins, just like you had said, is sort of 2 thumbs up. And I think I would be happy with 3. In fact, if they got 2 wins and maybe an overtime loss, a loser point.
No, that's loser talk. I don't like that. It needs to be at least 3.
Okay. I just... If they weather the storm.
That's loser talk, Chris. We're champions now.
Okay, I want them to go undefeated.
There you go. Aim high.
Never losing a game the rest of the season. This team is going all the way.
Woo!
There's going to be 16 games in the playoffs for the Vancouver Canucks.
2019 Tampa Bay Lightning. Look out. There's another President's Trophy banner coming up in Rogers Arena. No, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly, Chris. Even logistically, if we came away with 2 wins and a loser point, it wouldn't devastate me, but you certainly hope for at least 3.
Yeah, and throughout that, come home without any additional injuries.
I think that's one of my biggest hopes at this point. Like, no more injuries. Can we put Quinn Hughes in, like, bubble paper for the next week as well when he's not on the ice?
Bubble paper.
Well, bubble wrap to the normal people in the world.
Sorry, it was an innovative thought from my head.
This.
Other bits and bobs, if you will. I mixed up the segments, by the way. But
you totally do.
I know. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Bad producing. Let's talk about Olli Juolevi really quickly. It sounds like he suffered quite a serious injury, almost out indefinitely, I think is the term being used.
He's being flown to Vancouver.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign, dude.
No timeline.
That's not good.
I think is the wording.
Like being so in Utica, I don't know what it's like in Utica. I've never been to upstate New York.
I've heard great things.
Okay, but if let's say he needed to see a specialist, you would think New York City might have one or two of them. I hear New York's a pretty big city.
They're not very good. They're not where you want to go for lower body injuries.
Is that true? I mean,
I don't want to dive
honestly,
too deep into that comment.
I think they're bringing Juolevi back because they want their own team to look at them.
And they want to keep an eye on him, right?
So I don't have an issue with the Canucks wanting to sort of have a look here, but the fact that they're flying them to Vancouver to have that conversation and consultation,
it scares me a little bit.
Is not a good sign
because
like that's not like, hey, we want to have a second opinion or check in on things. That's like, I see one of two reasons. One, very serious, or two, we don't believe you. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a we don't believe you conversation.
It's not a Cody Hodgson deal, if you remember that one.
Or, Bufflin.
I think we all feel pretty badly for
So here's the
Juolevi
thing.
at this point.
Let's, we don't even know what the diagnosis is on Olli Juolevi, but is everyone here just so jaded by what's happened to Juolevi so far that you're just expecting the worst, or is that just me?
Well, I'm not necessarily expecting the worst. I have hope. There is some positivity when it comes to player development in these bones. But they were talking about it during the broadcast, and I can't remember specifically who it was they had, but they were talking at Juolevi as being, what's his ceiling at this point? If he makes the 5 or 6 spot on the blue line on the main roster and gives you a couple of seasons?
My expectations on Olli Juolevi have been so curbed that if he can be a top 4 guy, I will be over the moon.
See, and that's the thing is on the broadcast, they were saying at best, if this guy makes your top 6 and gives you a couple of seasons, like, and it could it be that it's a player who's just had some seriously bad luck with injuries? Could there have been more to this that, maybe the Canucks scouting staff somehow didn't see going into it? Maybe we've had conversations about development in Utica, and there's questions as to, has the development taken place been the right type of development since Travis Green has been bumped up to the big club? I mean, there's all sorts of questions.
I'm not saying you're wrong that we should definitely be having those conversations. In terms of Juolevi, I think the main conversation to have is the kid has been handed a bunch of bad luck, and we've got to hope it works out for him. It's almost irrelevant now whether there was some underlying issue we didn't spot. Like, if the kid makes it to the NHL at all, I think we'll all be pretty happy with that. But yeah, if it seems like a bit of a curse.
Well, and you think about it, when Juolevi was the future of the blue line. Like, Quinn Hughes should be currently, player B for the future of the Canucks blue line.
Well, Juolevi should be where Hughes is at now, really,
exactly.
in a best case scenario, and Hughes should be where Juolevi is.
Currently. That was when we were talking about Juolevi and then the possibility of Hughes and the future at the time is like, wow, the Canucks could actually have some serious blue line depth. Because we were talking in a world like, oh, you got an Edler, you got a Tanev, look at Troy from Richmond, great guy to have on a 5th or 6th line. Ben Hutton.
But I think...
Ben Hutton.
Well, no, but like back then, a few years ago, we were seeing good things out of Hutton and Stetcher, right? Like,
but like we don't have to justify our job. So Jim Benning and even Trevor Linden back in the day were always touting out these names, like trotting out like Juolevi, Brisebois, and all of that. But I think we as fans just like take it all with a pinch of salt. Until you see them in the NHL, you don't know what you have in a player. And
but
I didn't have I'm always optimistic, and when you pick someone that high,
when we took Virtanen and McCann, and people are like, 2 first-round picks, and one of them's a local boy. Oh, this is going to be awesome. And then they both make the big club. Oh, this is going to be a great season.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to name another defenseman, and you tell me if you'd rather have Juolevi or that defenseman.
Is it going to... This
sounds crass. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
Like, you're gonna...
But it's just, like, in terms of where they all stand in the depth chart, so to speak. That's what I'm asking. Who's further along in their development? Juolevi or Josh Tevez?
Okay, so okay, this is a tough question because Tevez is ahead, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, and I don't think he's...
It's not like I don't see it as a comparable. Like if you were saying, oh, who has the...
If you could pick between the two, though.
Well, as far as where the Canucks are today, I think Tevez. But as far as future, I see... Like I have this optimism for Juolevi that he might turn into something more.
Okay,
still.
so
yeah, I don't think Tevez, like, although obviously the chances are slimmer now than they were 6 months ago.
I guess I'll just push pause on this game, if you will. But it's just... I'm so heartbroken for Juolevi.
Yeah.
Because this really was his opportunity to get back that year of development that he missed for the most part last year. And I just question if Juolevi will even play in the NHL if he can't even hold up at the AHL level.
It's possible that, big injuries get him fixed up. Some form of training regimen, gameplay management, load management, whatever hell they need to do. Like, to me, there's still potential there. Tevez was sort of, like, this is the guy that you hope turns into Troy from Richmond at some point, right? Whereas Juolevi, I still hope that he turns into something more than Troy from Richmond.
Exactly. I think I agree with that. And given how much more time, uninterrupted time, Tevez had to develop, it's not like he's miles ahead of Juolevi. Like, he's still... Josh Tevez.
Yeah. There are not many other defensemen, I would say, who I would pick Olli Juolevi over at this point in time, unfortunately.
Well, no, but, like, we have... Like, what have we seen from him?
Not much.
Not a lot. Injuries have prevented that from happening. And we were... I mean, just this... Maybe not this time last year, but... We've been looking at, the Levy's they're going to call him up. He'll be one of the first call-ups. He's going to get an opportunity. It's going to be a great opportunity. This team could use him. He's going to get, the ice time. Like, all things considered, him and Hughes should have both been up here at the end of last year.
Yep.
Right? But he was hurt, and that sucks. So this year was going to be the opportunity. Now, he may not have, the way the Canucks are playing right now, may not get that opportunity to come up the end of the season as sort of Hughes did, but... He's hurt again, and he's hurt in such a way that he has to come all the way across the continent to see the team doctors, and from there make a decision. And it's not coming here for an X-ray.
Yeah. So let's say that Juolevi is sidelined for any amount of time. Who's the first call-up from the blue line in Utica at this point, if it's not Juolevi?
Are we talking Rafferty, maybe?
I think it's Rafferty as well. I like Rafferty's game as well.
Yeah.
I don't think, but no one here is thinking Guillaume Brisebois, who's gotten looks. Ashton Sautner, if Ashton Sautner is healthy as well.
I mean, Sautner, like Boucher, is like the ultimate tweener, in my opinion. He's like can do a job at NHL level, but I think he's always going to be that bottom pairing guy. I don't think he's ever going to be...
See, I kind of wonder if Breeze doesn't get the call up. Like if
he's gotten looks
they've
before.
Been talking about him for so long.
Well,
and by they you mean Jim Benning.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a little bit off the rails here, but the word on the street is that Travis Green wants Eriksson down in Utica, and Jim Benning's been the voice of reason to keep him up here, right?
Yes.
So if Jim Benning has the ability to keep a player like Louis Eriksson here in Vancouver, you sure as hell know he has the ability to call up the player he would prefer to see as opposed to his coach.
Yeah. Let's move on to other non-Canucks, if you will, in this discussion. Was anyone blindsided by the fact that Corey Schneider got put on waivers today? Hands up.
Blindsided? No. Surprised that it's actually come to this? Yes.
Yeah, definitely got an eyebrow raise out of me.
Like, hell, the fact that we're watching the game and my dad's like, oh yeah, that's Corey Schneider. I'm like, no, that's not Corey Schneider. Yeah, he's their number one. No, he's like their number 3, who's currently occupying the spot of the number 2. And like how has he fallen as far as he has?
Well, the big one is the injuries.
Yeah, I know, and it's like Rob the hockey guy went and dug up a tweet from someone. Like,
I saw it
years ago, right? Like
Yep.
first and foremost, like how do you see something on Twitter? You're like, oh, I'm gonna put this one.
I'm going to put this one in the file cabinet.
How that works?
Bring
Like,
this one. So the tweet that he did was something about the lines of like the Canucks traded Luongo, Schneider, and
Eddie Lack
and got all
Bo
these spare
Horvat,
parts,
yeah.
including Markstrom, Horvat,
Matthias
and
and-
Sean Matthias. Yeah.
But now you look at that and like, wow, the Canucks, like we got Horvat.
If I had a line graph that
I think
showed
Breeze was one of them.
Canucks sentiment during those time periods, it was like down a cliff, and then it slowly inched back up. It was quite a roller coaster in terms of Canuck fans.
Well, I mean, just sort of rewinding back then, the Schneider trade on its own, there were people who are upset because there's the whole Team Luongo, Team Schneider battle going on. But for a first-round pick, and it was actually a decent first-round pick for a player that people said that's going to be a good player for you in the future. I think on its own, Canucks fans would have been fine. But then to see Luongo leave and get Diddley back, and then to see Eddie Lack go and get Diddley back, you just went from 3 quote-unquote franchise goaltenders to 0. And I mean, people lost their mind. But if he doesn't get traded, let's say it is Luongo that gets traded, is Corey Schneider the goaltender that's led us to success?
Are we in the parallel universe where we have 3 Stanley Cups as well?
Yeah,
at this
maybe.
Time? I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but it's also possible that he gets these injuries if he's the starter in Vancouver too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. We don't know. Is Corey done?
I think so.
Like at this point in time, is he done, or does he embrace the like Richard Bachman role?
Well, let me say this. I think that there is some team that is willing to take a chance on Corey Schneider despite his albatross contract. Some team out there that says he's still got a couple good years left. Let's take the gamble. We'll take the cap it. Like, I'm kind of curious, for one, if Arizona was looking to eat up some cap space that they already have and could take on a Corey Schneider to complement Darcy Kemper and Antti Ranta.
It's possible. I don't see a team taking a chance on him given his injury history, but maybe he goes down to Binghamton and,
goes down to Binghamton.
Yeah.
That's like there's no. The only reason he gets brought back up is it's a devastating injury, or
right.
I liked him as a player. I haven't followed him too well since he's been on the East Coast.
But it's funny that 2 former Canucks goalies have gone to New Jersey and not made it work there.
Who's the other?
Eddie Lack.
Oh, right.
Well, if we go...
That was after his Calgary pit stop, though, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't...
Right.
No, or Carolina first.
See, I don't even remember where Lack went.
Lack was in Carolina first. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm kind of sad that Schneider is his career is sort of hanging in the balance, but I'm hopeful that there still might be a little bit of juice left in him. Anyone really quickly, we have a little bit of time for it, but any last words on Don Cherry?
Good riddance.
He said something stupid. To be honest, it was long overdue. That's basically all I want to say on that one.
Well, I'm gonna open up the can of worms a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit, okay?
Just a little bit.
You can open.
Had Don Cherry.
You get one twist.
Right. The following day said, I chose my words poorly. That's me. I meant this. I didn't heard what I said. That's not what I didn't mean this. Owned it. Because the problem is he hasn't owned it. Like, he only recently said, okay, I can sort of see why, if this piece plus this piece plus this piece means this. And I'm not trying to go and defend him. Like, when I heard it live, and it's like, oh, he's done. Like, I actually, at that point in time, thought he is done. This was it.
I didn't think that at all.
It's the day and age, and I even commented to Marnie. I'm like, oh, man, he is done.
See, I think you're right in that it would have saved him. I'm glad it didn't happen, because I think this is just one expression. It might have been a slip of the tongue, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in what he said. He's proven over and over that the way he feels.
Yeah, and I'd say I don't like it's more than just you people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more than just this one issue.
Yeah, no,
right,
it's more than
well.
this one issue. But like just like taking this if you know everybody who come here for our milk, like you, okay, who are you talking about? That's not everybody. Like you, It wasn't like if I've had this conversation on social media before. It's a completely unrelated topic, but when I go to a sporting event where the anthem is played, I don't necessarily agree the anthem should be played. Like it's a more North American tradition.
Yeah, I think it's
right?
bizarre.
But if that anthem is being played, I stand up, my hat gets taken off. I don't have an issue if you can't stand, but if you're wearing a hat, I feel it's respectful to take your hat off. I'm not going to go and tell you to do it. I'm not going to go in and exert my opinion on you, but that's my opinion. And if I was asked, I'd be like, I think everyone should take their hat off. I'm doing this on the podcast. But that's everyone. I don't care who, where, what, when, and how. It's something I've told my nephew to do, is take your hat off. It's a sign of respect.
Right, but that's, your personal opinion. And I think, honestly, Don Cherry's a product of his generation. He's a product of his time. No. But it's just long past his time.
No,
so
and he needed
like
to go,
him.
He should have gone out on top. Yeah. Like this was a time bomb, and it was going to go off at some point, and it went off, and like the time of year, and hell, I think the most telling thing, the Royal Canadian Legion was like, nah, man, you were wrong.
Yeah.
In much more clear words than I just used. They're like, no, we don't agree. So anyhow.
Take a break. When we come back, we're handing out the Quarter Pole Awards. The Vancouver Canucks, who stood out after 21 games. All coming up. C4 Podcast, Canucks Hockey Blog.
He liked to say the F word.
Well, then get the here then. Okay, see ya.
Is going to have the F word on it.
I wish I could give you an explanation about it. I can't.
You, out of here.
You said the F word, Dad.
You called me the F word.
All right.
Okay, that drop just will not work with this segment.
Why?
It's supposed to be like positives. And
okay, let's start with the positives.
Well, no.
It's not all positive.
Let's do the positives.
Well, no, I'm not saying we should do the positives.
Okay, so here's the positive that I'm going to lead with. We're going to invert this differently. I want those black flying skate jerseys to be permanent jerseys.
Okay, so how much?
But which jerseys?
Well,
you know what I'm talking about.
No, which, like, what do you want them
I
as?
want them to wear those jerseys every night at home.
So black, and then the
white ones on the road.
Okay, so
no, they should be third jerseys.
Oh my God, Anna!
I want them back.
When I saw those things on Saturday,
they look sick, but
I
they
was
won't
like
look sick.
a 7-year-old all over again. Like I loved them.
I love them too.
You know what? You know what the best thing about those jerseys, Chris, says? It's when they have the flying skate, like right here on the pants. They got it on the pants, for crying out loud. I had to stand up just to show. Like, that's a low-key good thing that they have about those jerseys.
See, this makes a good F word. Okay, I would like to point out that I, as the senior statesman here, I remember the actual V jersey. So I grew up on the flying skate. It was a memory was the V jersey. Now, I have to ask you, is the desire more connected with nostalgia? Like,
no, man, they're just slick.
Well, no, the CBC broadcast has like the old flying skate logo, and I'm like, and on the black, and that's slick. Like, like I liked it, but I also then wonder, like, is this a nostalgic thing? Because it, it brings me back to, days of the winning spirit.
Sure. I just think like the black and the red and the yellow is just such a great color scheme. It's a timeless color scheme. And when even seeing Demko's pads and the gear was awesome.
I don't necessarily agree that it's timeless, but I agree that it's a solid scheme. Like there's no other team. Like they stand out. But I am going to agree with Anna here. I think these would make a wicked third jersey.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how you spun it to me and Chris being negative towards the jerseys. We love them. That's why we're saying.
I want those puppies to be permanent.
Yeah, that's what we're saying too.
It's just as
permanent
number
third
3.
jerseys. Like they're special occasion jerseys right now, and we think they should be seen more, right? And also, let's never the millionaires gear. Like, let's never bring that back. It looks so good, but it's cursed.
I agree on the cursed. I just I think about how this team like comes out to game 1 of the postseason wearing those black flying skate jerseys.
To streets.
Oh, ooh.
Sirens going off.
Stop talking dirty to me, Chris.
Yeah, I obviously didn't live through the nostalgia at all, but I think they look so cool.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Like, there's no other team like it. The closest to that sort of color is Vegas, but even Vegas is mellow.
No, those are ugly.
No, but
ugly yellow.
But no, I'm not suggesting they're. But like you look at Vegas, and it's like, oh man, you could have taken a risk, and you took absolutely zero risks, and it punishes you for that. Whereas the Vancouver Canucks, I think Brock Besser scoring that goal, and then like the camera angle, the jersey, and you're right, the skate on the pants is.
While we're at it, let's bring back the salmon-colored flying skate jerseys.
Let's not.
From the late 90s.
No.
Are those going to make
it?
Oh, yeah.
Banish the salmon.
Like
made famous by Alexander McGillney. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I did see someone with a McGillney jersey on Thursday.
Yeah?
Was it the salmon? Shout out. No.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking mid-season, quarter-season grades, if you will. Let's start with who's been the most surprising performance that you've seen through 21 games. Let's go with ladies first. Anna.
The most surprising?
Yes, positively most surprising.
So is this
biggest overachiever? Is what we have her. Yeah, I read the rundown.
Yeah, you wrote it, and you still can't put it in the right order.
The biggest overachiever.
Tyler Myers.
So this is the name I want to say, but is he really overachieving, or is it us underappreciating?
Or is he just delivering on the value paid for him?
Can it be both? Because I think. One, the value was bad. We were mad. And you can still be mad at the contract. You can still be mad at the Miller contract. And he is playing lights out, I would say. But his numbers weren't good in Winnipeg.
Sure.
Okay. And he still has a mistake or two in him. But I would still... Yeah. I still think that counts as an overachiever. Or our patrons are suggesting Sutter, which is also a fair shout.
See, that's who I was going to say.
Okay.
Well, no. So, like...
Sorry, Matt.
So, when I was sitting here thinking, because I was actually happy you'd give it an Anna first, because I'm like, I was going to say Myers. But then, no, it's not fair, because I think I'm going this, I'm like, the bar was so low, it's not fair to him. I was going to say Sutter. When Sutter's been healthy, he has been... He actually has changed the dynamic of the conversation from, oh, great, he's increased his trade value, to, I don't know if I really want to see him go.
He's changed his trade value from, he's a foundational piece, to, he's a foundational piece.
Well, yeah, and like, I just wish the guy could stay healthy, because I think he contributes.
That's part of my reluctance to say him, is that it's this early in the season and he's already injured, so we'll see if he's staying healthy and playing as he has been.
Nexus's favorite player, Josh Levo, totally. Yeah.
I think Nexus also brought up Adam Gaudette, who I think is also in the mix for overachieving.
I don't know if he's overachieved though, because
he is.
Yeah, because we given how we came into the season where everyone was hyping him.
Yeah,
can you say he's overachieved?
I don't think so. Like I feel he's been given an opportunity and he's making it work. Like this is the opportunity we wanted him to have had last year.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's hard to say.
Let's move on to biggest underachiever. Let's go with Chris to start this one.
Furland.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can.
And I feel bad picking him because he's injured, but he's just. This is a guy who was penciled
even when he was healthy,
like on the top line, and didn't fit there really. Didn't really fit on the second line really. Didn't fit on the he hasn't found that fit, and he came in as like, this is the guy the Canucks have been missing for however long. Like he has been out of the lineup. And could you say that the Vancouver Canucks have missed him?
Yeah.
I think that silence speaks volumes.
Right?
I would agree with that.
There's been more conversation about, when does Roussel get healthy? And if Furland comes back into the conversation, oh man, imagine a lineup with Roussel and Furland in it. Like Furland is the +1 to the invitation to the ball.
But yeah, we'll see, I guess, when he comes back into the lineup as to what he has to offer, but it hasn't been difficult. I'm going to throw out a controversial one.
I got one too, but you can go first.
Thatcher Demko.
Okay, that's not who I was going
to say. As underachieving?
Because I think he's currently selling himself short with his mistakes.
He's a young goaltender who currently,
he's playing well. I'm just saying, I think he's
won
he's
double the games that he's lost.
Elite. And I think his mistakes are making him look like a lower talent he is. And I'm saying this with a pinch of salt because
Right.
I think he's a great goaltender and he's playing well. But the mistakes he makes are glaring when he makes them.
I'll go out with another
But he will.
hot takey one as well. My biggest underachiever, I don't know if he's the biggest underachiever, but I would say he's underachieving. Bo Horvat.
Oh, you know what? I can't disagree with that.
Okay, but I think the only reason that might be possible is because Travis is overworking him.
Well, his role has changed.
The role has expanded to he's workhorse, eat all the defensive minutes, kind of take all the face-offs you can kind of role. But we also can't ignore that Horvat as the second-line center, the offense just hasn't really been there. Like he's got, I believe he's got, let me do it really quickly. He's got 5 power play goals. That means he only has 1 even strength goal this season. He's got 8 power play points, meaning only 7 of his 15 points this season have been at even strength. My problem with Bo Horvat is just the lack of scoring at 5-on-5.
So to use a variety of eras here, he's being asked to be Ryan Kessler and Manny Malhotra.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the problem is that you go that route, the safest play is to be the Manny Malhotra version of Ryan Kessler. Like, has he hurt the Canucks in his role? I don't think he has. But you're right. We expected him to be more the Ryan Kessler in the relationship.
But until he's given the opportunity to do that, where, like, sure, you can put him out there in overtime to win the face-off, but then you can't do that after you've played him all the defensive minutes and, like, force him to...
He's being asked to do too many things because of the lack of... Brandon Sutter.
Right. I was going to say Sutter, but also I want to see what happens when Jay Beagle comes back. I think that's the big one. Is I want to see if Horvat's role changes at all with Jay Beagle returning to the lineup. We got to end this one super quickly, Chris. So I'll start with you again. Team MVP.
It's Petey. I don't see how it's not. Like who would it...
Anna's got a hand up.
Okay.
JT Miller.
JT Miller.
He has played wherever he's been told to play.
So here's my selling point on JT Miller. My selling point on JT Miller is he has been the glue for that top line that there wasn't really a glue guy before, and that alone makes him quite valuable to this team.
But drop him down to the second, and he'll play there too.
Okay, so yeah, you know what? I would my counter to the glue guys, but we've seen that Besser and Petey can make magic happen without the glue on the other side. But he could go down to the second line.
Sorry, the phrasing of that was just...
What? Glue?
Fun.
Glue on the other side?
No, it's
make
fine.
The magic happen?
It's fine.
Make the magic
it's
happen
just
with
the
glue?
story's going on in my own head. It's fine.
Glue?
Stop saying glue.
Stop saying glue.
Glue?
Stop it. Anyway, it is clearly a 2-horse race, though, between Pettersson and Miller, if you were to sort of pick between the two, right? Right? Any honorable
mention? We just can't pick Petey for every
honorable mention
ever.
for Jacob Markstrom?
Well, so I feel Markstrom... I don't think he gets into that tier simply because
he gets votes, though, right?
Okay, he's getting the votes from that one writer in like Podunk, Missouri.
Probably Kevin Woodley. He's voting,
right? Like the problem with Markstrom is for every 2 or 3 phenomenal things he does, there's
a couple duds in there.
Yeah, there's that soft serve ice cream.
There's that time he comes charging out of the net in overtime.
Okay, well He got them there.
I know.
But it's actually,
I see what you're trying to say.
It's a good synopsis. He got them there, and then he decided that was as far as they wanted to go.
We're getting a lot of interesting comments from Discord saying Tim Schaller for second.
Okay, I think Trev Goldie's just trying to wind up
he's trolling us, right?
Yeah,
you can only hope to stop Shalatov. Okay.
Well, Schaller. Okay. In fairness, has Schaller overachieved?
Yes.
He truly has. And you could almost suggest Levo has as well, as much as Nexus. But the bar was so low. Like that's like, Cowan potting a few goals and becoming the Barbarian. Like, he's not going to the Hockey Hall of Fame anytime soon, no matter how well he overachieves.
Yeah, and that was like Jake getting on a hot streak last year.
He's shotgunning beers left, right, and center.
It's fun, but it's not
Although
changing.
we are starting to see more glimpses of the good Jake.
Yeah.
And
where he causes shotguns rather than does them himself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anyhow. What are you doing over there, man?
Yeah, is our host still paying?
I'm checking the football score.
Yeah,
okay, so
we're
winding up the podcast.
Yeah, you got to tell us why you're looking at the football
quick
score.
off the rails moment. Adam Ovenel Carter and I are sports betting together.
I'm not sure.
And we are so very close to making a substantial amount of money on this Monday night game.
Okay, you got to give a short backstory here as to why this game is so important.
Short.
So a short story is we're playing Tota. You need at least 11 out of 13 correct to win. We have 11 right now, so if we get 12, we get even more money.
So is this an Aki, like the equivalent of an Aki?
I don't know what the hell she just said.
An accumulator?
Hey, Chris, as we wrap things up on the C4 podcast, why don't you tell people where they can find us?
Well, you are listening to us right now, and hopefully you are listening through your favorite podcast app. So what we would ask that you do, whatever that favorite podcast app happened to be, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Spotify, TuneIn, Pandora, iHeartRadio, is click that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep in touch with us each and every week that we record a new episode, save for those weeks where there is that statutory holiday. You can also find us online. We're at the C4 Podcast on Twitter. That Twitter account is much more witty since Anna's been behind the keys. But occasionally, I do tweet as well. So, you can probably figure out who's Anna and who's Chris. Self-promotion, Chris. Smart and witty, Anna.
Sassy pants,
That too.
Anna.
I like how you responded to one of our listeners when he's like, hey, when do you guys record? And you're like, oh, it's...
Yeah, when do you boys...
Oh, boys, yeah, boys, sorry.
I would... Because I think guys is gender neutral at this point.
Yeah, but it was boys. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to call out. It's just I saw the tweet, and I'm like, Anna's like, oh, and from Anna. Like, I like the sort of, you clarified that.
Yeah.
And the response was like, oh, right on, which is cool, too, but no, like, oh, I'm so sorry, or acknowledgement. But you're... I consider you one of the boys. I'd go and
That's not a compliment.
do boy things.
Oh, gosh. I'm scared of what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, let's get out of here.
You can find us at CanucksHockeyBlog.com, and you're probably also finding us on the Overtime Media Network, which is a network of fabulous sports podcasts, not just us. You held up your hand. So.
Sorry.
Did you have a comment or question?
No, I just wanted my last thing that I'll say on this podcast, Chris. Hats off to Trev Goldie, who just mentioned in Discord. To you, Chris, massive congrats to Light Force on his journey. Well done on your weight loss. Keep going. I echo those comments, Chris. By the way, you're doing us all proud. Nice to see you doing so well.
Well, thank you, Trev, and thank you, Matt and Anna. For those who are like, what the hell's going on? I started a weight loss journey in June. I just decided one day that I needed to do something about it, and I've lost 60 pounds since then. So in 6 months' time, I'm like, I've lost a considerable amount of weight. And the problem is I don't necessarily see it myself because I guess, it transitions gradually. I see myself every day. But like I put this picture up of like sort of May and in November. And I guess I can sort of see some of this. But like, other people are like, oh my God, like I saw a coworker this week. I hadn't seen her in months. And she's like, oh my effing God. Like, this is unreal. And thank you. Like, I don't know how to respond to it other than say thank you.
That's it. That's all you need.
And my last thing I'll say is rest in peace, Coop. We love you and wishing his family all the best at this difficult time as well.
So on behalf of Missing in Action, I'm Owen Carter at Adam FOC, Matt Lee at Matt Lee _61, myself, Chris Golden at Light Force, and Anna Forsyth at Forsyth03. We're going to sign off this episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast as heard on Overtime Media Network with We're Out.